She-Hulk episode 9 was probably the most comic booky thing we have ever gone in Marvel media. So we gotta talk about this because there is absolutely so much shit that happened in this episode. But before we get into it, welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. If you like content just like this, hit the subscribe button for more, and I hope you enjoy this video. We're gonna do our usual review, breakdown, Easter eggs, all bunched into the mix because we gotta talk about the many things that happen in this episode. First of all, this episode is probably one of the best episodes of She-Hulk so far, probably because they leaned into that comic booky style of the show, which felt like everything was coming together. It was Jen Walters' She-Hulk show, and it worked. Pretty much, I wouldn't expect this from any other show except maybe Deadpool, because a lot happened that you just wouldn't see in your regular Marvel project. And I know some people are probably going to have problems with it because it's too much like a comic book, but as someone who loves reading comic books and likes to see stuff adapted more like it, I'm a huge fan. I loved it. It's weird, and it's something you wouldn't expect, which I think is great. On top of it all, it was also really chaotic. And that's what I really like about the episode, is that when you get to the halfway point near the end, it's just straight chaos. Like Jen breaking the fourth wall, going into the main world and seeing the writer's room. Like, it's just utter chaos, and I loved it. But let's go from the beginning of the episode to the end, because we got a lot to talk about. And on top of it, my theory for the Hulk was 100% correct, but we'll get to that. The intro we got for this episode was a spoof on the 70s Hulk show, which is hilarious because you have the big She-Hulk that looks really ridiculous. That's exactly how they shot the Incredible Hulk intro for that 70s show, which I thought was interesting, and I love to see it because it was funny. It added to the show. And I like how on top of that, they added her as, instead of the Incredible She-Hulk, it was the Savage She-Hulk like she is in the comics. And I like how it starts off with her being thrown in jail. She's in Blonsky's cell with his uniform on, which obviously probably did the prison uniform, but still. And I like how they throw it in her, and it ties back to the beginning of the season where Bruce was like, if you mess up, they will see you as a monster. They will see you as nothing else. And that's exactly what happens. Jen hulks out once, and all of a sudden, everyone sees Jen as a monster. She gets fired from her job. She has to leave her apartment. And her life pretty much goes to shit because of what Intelligentsia did. She hulked out once. Literally once. And she didn't even hurt any innocent people. She was only attacking the jackasses. I like how when Nikki and Jen are trying to investigate what was going on, Nikki's like, by any means necessary. And Jen's like, by the law. Nikki's by any means necessary. Because Nikki's like, well, you need to fight these guys head on to take them out. But Jen wants to do this by the book. And it shows by the very end of this episode why she does it. Because she is a woman of the law. She's a lawyer. She wants to do stuff by the book. And I like how when they turn on the TV, Dennis from their old firm is saying that she's a complete psycho. It's like, Dennis, God, you can't be more of a dick, can you? And on top of it, you have Jen's mom showing Nikki Jen's college video when she's in college, making herself look like an idiot. And then Nikki posted on Intelligentsia so that she can get an in because now she's making fun of She-Hulk. And Intelligentsia didn't get behind that, but they think she's a dude, so she has to get Pug to infiltrate them. And Pug's so awkward because he's not like a guy that would be an ass to women. And he's having a really hard time doing it, but none of the dumbasses can really pick up on it. Because Intelligentsia is not this big criminal organization like we all wanted to believe it was. We all thought it could be like the leader, Doom, because that's what it is in the comics. Instead, it was a big joke. But honestly, I didn't expect anything less from She-Hulk. It was Todd running it. We knew it was Todd. We all expected Todd to be behind something, and he was behind getting the blood, he was behind Josh, and everything all went back to him. And we all get that creepy vibe from the episode where they went on a date. Honestly, he probably just hates She-Hulk because she turned him down on the date. That's probably the whole reason. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I like how when Jen, before she goes to Blonsky's retreat, the narrator almost comes on and she's like, nope, we're not doing a narrator. No, that's not happening. And then we have her looking at her phone to text Hulk. Instead of Smart Hulk, it's Smug Hulk making fun of her cousin. Which is funny because, Bruce can be smug at times. Now, flashback to the Intelligentsia meeting. I like how Pug's talking to them and they're like, well, there's not a He-Hulk. Why would we have a She-Hulk? And then someone's like, wow, there shouldn't be a Lady Thor either. Which is the first time we've gotten a Jane Foster Thor reference outside of Love and Thunder. Which I thought was interesting, and I wonder if we'll ever get her mentioned again in other Marvel projects. Because I feel like people are going to be like, yeah, there was that time where we had Thor and Lady Thor. Or someone might actually say the Mighty Thor. I'm hoping we hear the Mighty Thor. And when Blonsky came out at the meeting, I'm like, holy shit, Abomination is part of Intelligentsia. He hates the She-Hulk. But the funny part is, you didn't actually see anything for hating She-Hulk. All of them talking about getting their power, rising up, and being like reaching for that power and being better people, which is what he thought. Instead, he finds out when he's there that they're all hating Jen, and he actually tries to help Jen from getting attacked by Todd, who takes She-Hulk's blood and injects it into himself. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, are they going to turn Todd into Red Hulk? I was like, they're turning him into Red Hulk. And then he turned into this weird morphed Green Hulk that was just really awkward looking. And then you had Bruce come in, all of a sudden out of space, just dropping in the wall and being like, hey, get off my cousin, because he thinks Blonsky's attacking his cousin, but she's not. He's actually helping Jen get away and saving her. And then Titania busts in the door, and then freaking, it's just utter chaos. Like, everything's going on, and it's just insane. And I like the Abomination Hulk rematch. Hulk is so much smaller than Abomination, and he's just like punching him away. And I thought we were going to get more of that. And then all of a sudden, Jen pauses everything. The main menu comes on, and I was really confused at first because I'm like, why is the menu on here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would the menu be right here? But wait, nope. Jen's still talking. She pops through the She-Hulk door. She walks right into the Marvel Studios Assembled. And I'm like, did they just broke the fourth wall? Literally, they broke through the fourth wall, which she has broken through the fourth wall out of comic panels before. She's never walked into the real world. Deadpool has done it. He went and killed the writer's room, and Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Gwenpool is also broken out of the comic book, but she's also from the real world, so she's going between comic panels all the time. I thought that was absolutely insane, because it is the most comic booky thing you can ever see in a comic book show. And honestly, never expected them to do that, and I loved it. And then we have her walking through the studio. Everyone's looking at her because they see a She-Hulk in real life. And then she goes to the writer's room. On the door to the studio, it has a QR code, which brings you to the sensational She-Hulk number 50 from 1989. And I like how she walks in the writer's room, and everyone's confused as shit. But we got some cool things all over the walls. When she's talking to them, we have previews of her. We see different suit designs on the wall. We get She-Hulk covers, we have Hulk covers, we have different designs for She-Hulk on the wall, concept art. They have a big board on the wall that has Final on it, that says Gamma Goo, Nanobot, Incredible Hulk. There's just a bunch of random things on the wall. And then if you look over to the right, there's more concept art for the different characters. You see some of that stuff from the Wong episode. You get more of Man-Bull, and a couple other things which I thought was cool. You got the I Want You to put away your cell phone Captain America sign, a smash and shred sensitive documents Hulk poster. And I love how She-Hulk is telling them that, you know, she's trying to correct the script, and they're like, no, that's what Kevin wants. That's what Kevin wants. And she's like, well, I'm going to go talk to Kevin. So she heads over to Kevin's office, and we're all expecting to see Kevin Feige. And I like how she pushes her way through the Marvel security, heads straight into the office. It's one of those big rooms with all the screens on it, showing different Marvel projects, and there's stands with different comic books in it. We got Daredevil, Miss Marvel, Captain America, The Incredible Hulk. I think a Kate Bishop one, Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, Avengers, more Captain America, and Doctor Strange. Then we got an Ironheart one. And then we also got America Chavez and Scarlet Witch and Thanos. Pretty much showing where they get their source material from. And I like how when Jen's talking to Kevin, who we all assumed would be Kevin Feige, but instead it's a robot that controls all of Marvel and connects it all together. And she's telling him it's her story. She gets to choose what it is. And he's like, can you change from She-Hulk form to Jen? Our VFX artists are overwhelmed, and they're working on another project right now, and then the Black Panther theme plays, getting us ready for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I thought this was really fun because it's so comic booky seeing her in the real world deciding her own story. She's like, Todd shouldn't take the serum. We don't need another Hulk, which honestly, still would rather see a red Hulk. And then her being like, no, let Abomination stay human. He needs to face his actions. Bruce doesn't need to be there. We'll deal with the Skaar stuff later. I like how when she was talking to Kevin too, she's like, why does everyone have daddy issues? So we get an Iron Man reference, daddy issues. Thor and Loki, same daddy issues. And Star-Lord, 2 daddy issues. Because you got Yondu and Ego. And I thought it was pretty funny that she references all these characters. She's like, when are we going to get the X-Men? What's going on? And then Kevin's like, no, we don't talk about that right now. Overall, hilarious. I love the references. There was a bunch in this. I thought that was just really fun how they dealt with it, and then she came back and everyone was getting arrested. That part was a little weird to me when she came back and everyone was being arrested, but they also mentioned on top of it that she won't be able to do this again. So she won't be able to break the fourth wall literally like that ever again. Which I'm sure they might do it down the road, but not in the same sort of fashion. When everyone's getting arrested, Titania's just filming it all, what's going on. Like, she didn't really play a big part in this. Her part in the season was kind of random, but I didn't mind it. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how she goes forward in the future with She-Hulk. And then I like how when she goes to Todd, he's all scared because she's in She-Hulk form, and then she goes down, I'm going to see you in court. He kind of gets in her face, and the cops pull her back. I'm like, damn, if she punches him, he's a dead man. Todd's a little weakling. And then Daredevil hops in, out of nowhere, because she wants Daredevil back. And I'm like, But he just flew from the sky. I hope they don't stay a couple. I want to see Daredevil get with a couple more of his comic book love interests. I want to see Elektra again. I want to see other characters. Mostly Elektra. I just want to see Elektra again. I want to eventually get Daredevil Elektra stuff going on, just like how they do in the comics. I really enjoyed this final. It was really fun. And I like how after Daredevil comes in, they go back to her place. They have family lunch. And her family's asking Matt about, kids getting together. I'm like, again, I don't want them to stay together. I like them, like, one hookup is good enough. I don't want them to be a couple. He's going to go back to Hell's Kitchen. But when he was talking about his firm, I thought she was going to move to Hell's Kitchen because I thought she was fired from her firm and she wouldn't get hired back. So I'm surprised that wasn't their way of kind of pushing her over to New York City. But I'm interested to see when she comes back and what's going to happen with that. And I like how Hulk shows up with the theory I was correct on with his son. Skaar is here in the MCU, and now we have the son of Hulk. Now that we have Skaar, we need the leader to come back, which he is in Captain America 4. We need a Red Hulk, which I'm really hoping we see eventually. And I've heard rumors about Thunderbolt Ross being recasted, so that'll be kind of cool if we do get a Red Hulk. Seeing a Red She-Hulk with Betty Ross would be cool, but who knows when that will come. It would be cool to see Rick Jones. It would also be cool to see Doc Samson in this as well. There are a bunch of Hulk characters that we've yet to see, and I would love to see them, because the Hulk has some interesting characters, and the Immortal Hulk run is absolutely amazing. So if they got somehow to that, holy shit, that would be amazing. But I doubt it because it's really gruesome and body horror-y. And of course, we can't forget about the post-credit scene, because the post-credit scene was something else. We have Wong coming to get Blonsky to go to Kamar-Taj, and that's what Wong originally offered Blonsky to begin with, that he'd just keep him there after their cage match in Shang-Chi. So we took him up on the offer, and now he's going over there. However, I thought the post-credit scene was going to be Val recruiting him to the Thunderbolts, because he did go back in human form, and he was getting thrown back in jail for 10 years. And that's exactly what I thought was going to happen, which I think could still happen. Val might be able to reach out to Wong and be like, hey, can we have the Abomination? We need him for a mission. Because right now the team is just super soldiers. I would love to see a Hulk in the background. We all thought it could be a Red Hulk, which, hey, it still could be if Thunderbolt Ross ends up being the leader of the Thunderbolts, and Val is just the one that recruited the team, and he's the one leading it. But we have yet to see what's going to happen when we finally get more information on that. That's still a couple years away. But I'm looking forward to it. Part of me also thinks that they might throw Abomination in like a Midnight Suns movie because he's going to be with Wong. I would rather not see that happen. But it's still a possibility with what they're doing and where he is. I don't think this is the last we'll see of Abomination, and I'm looking forward to when he'll pop up next. Honestly, a lot of cool callouts for some of the MCU projects and what's going on, comic book stuff, and this being a real big comic booky episode. I'm looking forward to seeing where She-Hulk pops up next and how the tone will be dealt with in different projects. Because in her own show, this is how she'll feel. But I know when she goes to different ones, she won't be breaking the fourth wall. And she'll be doing different things and acting slightly differently. Probably a little bit less on the humor side. Mostly because that's her tone for her show. But like comic books, characters change per project they're in. And you really get a feel for how the character is going to be depending on what that tone of that project you're watching already is. So like Daredevil was more comedic in this. I'm sure he'll still be comedic in Born Again, but he won't be as comedic, if you know what I mean. And we have just plenty of different tones to like have these characters show up in, and I'm looking forward to it. What did you think of this episode? What kind of Easter eggs did you see? Let me know down in the comments. This episode was probably the most comic booky thing I've ever seen, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other comic booky stuff Marvel will do in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Can't wait for Black Panther, and Black Adam's coming soon as well, so we got a lot of comic book stuff to talk about.